Awesome. And I'm hoping everybody online can hear me okay. We've got some virtual guests as well. Can everybody in the room hear me okay? Yep. Yes. We found the smallest room to make us all friends today. And I turned the air down, but I think we can hear. So we always like to keep these casual, but because it is a tight, close room, just be conscientious of noise, but feel free to help yourself to sandwiches or snacks or beverages up here. You can come up and get up as you need. For those of you in the room, there is a restroom in the hall right behind us and a water fountain as well. So if you need anything, there's sides of this room and I'll be over here if anybody needs anything. So with that, I will go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us both online and in person today. This is an extra fun event because normally when we do these, we have our local Maine community of climate and environment people. But today we have some extra special guests. We have several startups from the Canadian Climate Tech Accelerator Program. Would you like to share a little bit about your program and then I'll come and introduce everybody else?
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Maker. I'm based at the Canadian Consulate in Boston. We cover all of New England, and one of our programs that we run helping Canadian founders as they look at markets for export opportunities and investment is the Canadian Technology Accelerator. And we have a climate tech program that we've run for 11 years now. This is our 13th cohort. And this year we decided to explore the opportunities here in Maine, and that includes AI, together with the RU, members of E2 Tech and Climate Work Maine. So we wanted to expose our founders to some of the opportunities here in Maine. So we have a nice broad selection of climate tech subsectors. You can take a look at our deal book if you don't have one in front of you already. But we're really proud of the progress that the companies have made. We definitely encourage you to chat with them once the session's over. And as always, if there's anything that we can help with as it relates to Canada, whether it be looking at Canada for opportunities itself or for connecting with partners in Canada, we're here to help. Please come and reach out. So do we want to introduce?
I'll bring them up.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you very much, Andrew. My name is Tara Dunham. I work with Warren Adams to run the Climate Tech Incubator here at the RU Institute. So in addition to our Canadian climate tech startups, we have 15 members in our incubator right now and are growing. And we just launched this program in September. So brand new, very exciting, very excited to get to connect with our neighbors to the north and bring you programs like this. So here at the RU Institute, we are a graduate campus. We have entrepreneurship programs and the Climate Tech Incubator is one of those. We are partnering with E2 Tech, which is the Energy and Environment Council of Maine, to run a series of speaker events like this one on all different topics of climate and the environment, ways of bringing people together, meeting people, connecting folks, and getting to learn a little bit about the ecosystem in Maine and beyond. So for today's program, we are going to hear from a few of the Canadian visitors, and then I'm going to surprise a few of our incubator members who are in the room with us, and you're going to hear some very short 1-minute pitches about their startups and their businesses, so you can get an idea of some of the really exciting, cool work that's going on in the area in this field. So come on in. There's sandwiches. There's some seats up front. We're very casual here. And then we'll make sure that there's time at the end for questions and for chatting and networking. So we'll be around after if you want to chat with anybody that you've met. And I'm happy to make any connections that will help facilitate additional conversation as well. And so after you hear from our startups in the room, we have some guests from WSP who will be sharing some information about their business, and why that makes sense is because they started in Canada as well. So talking about small companies that can then become worldwide, national, celebrated institutions. So really excited for the program today. Without further ado, any volunteers? Awesome.
You just don't want to. You don't want to go
after me.
Hi there, my name is Graham Clark. I'm with Ecosystem Informatics. And we live in a time when we hear a lot about sustainability, net zero, climate change. And obviously on the other side of that, we also hear a lot about emissions reductions, operational efficiency, and so on. And the main issue, the problem that we are aiming to solve is, unfortunately, cities, governments, regulatory bodies, nonprofit organizations, academia, and so on cannot get their hands on the tools to be able to verify what they're doing is actually working and whether or not everyone is doing their part. And so that's where we come in. We do air quality data collection outdoors. And what sets us apart is we've used the power of AI. It's a bit of a buzzword, but to be able to collect this data while in motion. So we're able to collect everything for cities, governments, all those different sectors that I mentioned earlier, in a truly scalable way that collects localized data. So street by street level, for example, instead of large 10-kilometer resolutions. So we do that for sustainable investment justification. We do it for emissions monitoring. We do it for health and safety and different compliance reasons. We also work with environmental engineering firms. So we work in industrial sectors too. And we work in cement, oil and gas, construction, and so on. And so we're here today because I'm happy to say we are not raising currently. We just closed a seed round. However, we do want to talk to if there are any investors in the room. We do have plans for our next round already within the next 12 months or so. So we have ideas for that and our vision for the future. And if you have any involvement with clean air or community-led projects, we can talk to you about how we can support those projects. And if you work in an industrial company or have affiliation, you can talk to us about how we can save you time and money with air quality and emissions. Thank you.
whatever you want.
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah, you'll do your big last thing.
I'm just gonna steal. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dustin Angelo. I am co-founder and CEO of Novamera. So I hate to start with a negative comment, but I've got to tell you that we are going to struggle to get all the metals and minerals that we need for the energy transition if we rely solely on large-scale conventional mining. Big open pits, large underground projects, very hazardous, very costly. But imagine if there was a way of mining that had a very tiny footprint that you can permit really fast and get into production really fast. We need lots of minerals and minerals very fast. You can target ore and you can minimize waste, all still being highly, highly profitable. We could unlock billions of dollars in small scale deposits that are around the world that are not economic using conventional mining methods. And we could add more of the supply that we need of all those critical metals and minerals. So at Novamera, what we've done is we've created the hardware and software, the intelligence and the enabling technologies that allow mining companies to take conventional drilling equipment and surgically extract mineral deposits. So think precision mining. Think even more laparoscopic surgery versus open heart surgery. And so this is very much for us a data-driven approach to how we look at mining. We leverage our software, our AI machine learning, and our algorithms to be able to now maximize efficiency and minimize waste and cost. And so we are, at this point in our company, we've been developing a great customer base. We've got a number of customers we're in the field with. We're starting to grow and scale. We're in the middle right now of doing a financing, a $5 million financing, and we have raised so far about 70% of that. So we are still looking to fill it out. Happy to talk to anybody that would like to learn more about Novamera, and thank you very much for your time.
Afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and for the really lovely warm Maine welcome that we've all received. My name is Laura. I'm the co-founder and COO of Ecologica. We are a sustainable IoT company at the intersection of health and climate. The built environment is at a crossroads. In a few short months, regulators will require over 100 million buildings in the United States to increase their airflow in order to improve human health, but decrease their airflow in order to decarbonize their buildings. Ecologica solves this problem in 3 really easy steps. First, we go in to monitor buildings for energy efficiency. Then we use our proprietary hardware technology in order to molecularly change the composition of indoor air. We make fresh air inside. Lastly, we take 4 different streams of data, health and environmental, both on the micro and macro level, and layer them to give a really clear picture of how your health is impacted by the built environment and to have a predictive model for how the future of environment and health is going to look. That's why customers like Fairmont, Ronald McDonald House Charities, and Sonder have trusted us with their buildings. We're just in the midst of, knock on wood, closing our seed round by the end of the year. We're looking for partners in R&D, commercialization, everything built environment, and any data collection partners as well in the smart building, smart monitoring industry. If you have any questions, I'd love to clear the air.
Thank you all so much. Those are great pitches. And those 3 companies are all found in the little deal books that are scattered about. And there's an extra stack up here. So if you want to learn more about their organizations or find out how to reach them, we've got some additional deal books around. Now I'd love to pick on a few of the Root Institute Climate Tech Incubator members to deliver a very short pitch. And I said that about 5 minutes ago, that this would be really fun if they also shared a little bit. So bear with them. I put them on the spot. John, do you want to kick us off?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So as John's coming up, I'll tell you a little bit more about the Climate Tech Incubator here. It is a entrepreneurial program to help support climate tech companies in their journey to scale their businesses here in Maine and help develop the Maine economy. And to do that, we have mentors, advisors, some programming, lots of connections with industry partners, all to enable and support our companies to grow. One of our entrepreneurs in residence, so John is not only starting a climate tech business here in the incubator, but he is also done things like this before. And so he's providing mentorship to our other members to help them grow faster. So can't wait to hear your pitch.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Appreciate it. Yeah, my name is John Wallace. I'm the founder of FlightSage, a sustainable aviation company, a startup here at the incubator. And it's hard to follow our friends from the Canadian entourage here. They're great pitches. To the point though, with FlightSage, I've been a pilot since 1998. And currently the big problem we're facing right now with FlightSage is that all the aircraft that we have in the general aviation fleet in the US, 200,000 aircraft, the average age is 50 years old. Okay, we are building out only about 1,000 new aircraft a year to replace that. It'll take 200 years to replace the full fleet. And of those new aircraft every year, there are only a handful, I can count them on 2 hands, in terms of the number of aircraft that are electric. So we have a big problem in terms of the carbon footprint and also the safety. General aviation aircraft, they are 10 times more intensive for carbon emissions and 50 times riskier from a safety standpoint. So we're at the crossroads of solving both sustainability and safety. Any sort of aircraft accident itself is considered an ecological disaster. So if we can prevent just one, with a lot more aircraft accidents, then we can save a lot on the environment and also human health, obviously, from there too. So, our system actually is an AI-based system that I've actually been working on for a few years. We are in pre-seed, early startup mode, but the system itself is integrating multiple machine learning models from weather prediction, aircraft performance prediction, as well as a human machine interface. So we're bringing it all together. We have an early prototype we've already tested a few times. We're showing some pretty good results with about a 20% reduction in fuel emissions, fuel consumption and emissions. And we can also, we've already teamed up with a marketplace partner to be able to allow our customers to go in and purchase carbon offsets and even carbon removal units. You get a certificate that you purchase the carbon, you can show that it's been removed from the atmosphere by a number of pounds of carbon, and it's put into a secure place for sequestration. So that's great. We're moving, but it's early. And we just hired our first hire who's going to be taking the reins on a lot of our customer focus efforts. He's a 20-year veteran of the FAA DOT director level. He's retired from that. He's been a flight instructor for 20 years. So we're just real happy to pick him up. We're signing the paperwork, so I don't want to mention the name yet. Pretty excited to bring him on board and have him join the effort. So that's our pitch. That's what we're working on. And we're about 2 to 3 months away from our first fundraise. So for the investors out there, I look forward to giving you a better pitch by then. How's that? So, great. Thank you.
Alex?
Well, hi, my name is Alex Mildy, founder of Scaled Carbon, and we're an ocean-based carbon dioxide removal company. Most of the answer to solving climate crisis is just stopping the burning of fossil fuels. However, we're at a point now where it's unavoidable in order to limit warming below 2C that we'll have to pull between 5 and 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide directly out of the atmosphere every year. And that's just an unimaginably large amount of carbon dioxide. And our thesis is that only kind of accelerating natural processes that already operate at the billion-ton per year scale is the only thing that will get us there. And for us, that's accelerating the geologic carbon cycle by pulling rocks that are way out of balance with carbon in the atmosphere out of the ground, grinding them up so that they react with the carbon in seawater and turn it into essentially limestone securely sequestered away for millions of years. And that is an incredibly scalable process, will cost about $25 per ton removed at scale. However, the reason no one's been able to implement this and turn this into an actionable company yet is because no one has figured out how to measure the amount of carbon you've removed, and therefore you can't sell a credit off of it. And so our angle is we have a new process for using existing sediment tracers to kind of reframe the problem and be able to actually measure the carbon removal we're affecting using existing sensors and technology. And so we have proved this concept in the lab and are currently raising money to get a field trial going and kind of prove that it works in the ocean and therefore kind of clear the road for a scale up in the near future. So if you're interested in getting involved in kind of making that field trial happen, or just interested in talking about carbon removal in general, yeah, happy to chat. But thank you.
I'm gonna pick on you next, and then I know we had a few people join. Sorry, we're in like the small class right here. There's a couple chairs over here, one next to Cecile, and it's back. Do you mind if I do that? Just so that all the space. And if you guys, yeah, you can come across the room, or if you want to come out, there's another door over here. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Josh Fox, founder of Servoom. The biggest barrier for people to get on a bicycle is safety. 50% of Americans want to ride more, but they're scared, and frankly, rightly so. Last year was the deadliest year for cyclists in the record for American cyclists. So we created an AI-enabled device that increases rider safety, reduces incidents with traffic, and documents any collisions to hold motorists accountable. And in the back end, we start to store that data in addition to time, date, and GPS location. So we can create a database so that municipalities can use that data for pointed infrastructure improvements or to justify. We're using the technology also to measure a whole host of other things, such as like roadway surface condition, different measures of congestion, hopes of improving roadways. We had a successful Kickstarter this summer, and we're building off that, iterating, and we'll have the product out to the masses next summer.
I'm happy to connect everybody. We'll send out a thank you note for attending after this, and I'll make sure to include the link to the Climate Tech Incubator page as well as the Canadian Climate Tech Accelerator Program, so that you have a way of learning more about all of our companies and getting in touch with everybody. So thank you all for being so brave and sharing your pitches. Thanks so much. I'd now love to welcome our guests from WSP to share a little bit about your organization.
Our big organization. It's nice to be invited to participate today. My name's Nathan Hagelin. I work for WSP here in Portland. We have an office of around 150 here in Portland, and we've been here since 1873. Our company is enormous. We are the largest engineering consulting firm in Canada, and we may be the largest in the US now. We have grown quite a bit in the last decade over from acquisition, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our most recent and very exciting acquisition that's quite relevant to what we're talking about today. There's a couple of other threads here that connect me to today. One is that my son is a recent graduate of the Rue Institute. He's kicking butt at LL Bean with full-time data analytics. We have been developing our relationship with the Rue Institute over the past couple of years, and we brought on a couple of graduate students to help us develop some artificial intelligence technology. And that has created some really exciting opportunities. And right now we're in the process of interviewing some of the students here for a co-op program in our digital solutions team. So we're really happy to have Rue here in the community. The company has a much bigger relationship with Northeastern University, where we've had probably hundreds of co-ops over the years in that relationship. You know, a company like ours lives and dies by innovation and technology. And the only way we can separate ourselves from those companies that are nipping at our heels is to stay ahead on the technology front and the innovation front. Of course, you know, you can't get out of bed without hearing about AI. So we're always looking, how are we going to incorporate AI into our business? What makes sense? What smoke and mirrors? So it's very helpful to have a partner like the Rue Institute sort through that. But more generally on the innovation side, we have our own cohort program where we bring, ironically, 10 firms through each year. And I just have the funniest feeling. One of the pitches that I heard today just reminded me very much of a company that has been through WSP's Emerge program. And so we're always constantly looking and evaluating, is there a match here for us and you? Do you have a technology that our clients would really benefit from? And can we offer the opportunity to pilot or trial your technology with one of our clients on one of our project sites? So I think that's the WSP connection here today. And as far as power and energy is concerned, which is one of the sectors that we play in, I'm going to introduce Mike Murphy to tell you a little bit about what he's been doing lately.
Thanks, Nathan.
Sure.
I'm Mike Murphy, WSP. I'm based right here in Portland, Maine. And I sit in the power / environmental practice here. And within WSP, we have a pretty large group spread around the country. Right here in Maine, we've got the office in Portland, about a little over 100 people, I think. But most of the people here are pure environmental remedial work. There's a smaller group of us that's focused on energy and power. And what does that mean? The type of services that we typically provide is for some of the utilities, independent power producers, developers, whatnot, on things, any of the engineering support, environmental, regulatory support. And that would go from project life from as early as due diligence efforts, where you're kicking the tires and say, I got an idea, you know, on a project, what do we need to take a look at? Looking at risk models and whatnot, right up through siting, permitting, design, construction oversight, and eventual compliance. One thing that Nathan referred to is some big news that has occurred recently is that WSP acquired a firm called Power Engineers. So that's important, especially to this group. Power is a company that's nationwide, about 4,000 people, but they have a couple offices here in Maine. one right in Freeport, right on Route 1, on your way up to Beans or Maine Beer. Or whatever. It's right on the right-hand side, but it just shows, the commitment that WSP has into this market. Regards to power generation, transmission, and basically, going through this energy transition, being able to support our clients and people with, support them with the types of skill sets needed to make this transition really happen. So one thing I've been fortunate, with this group here with sort of early stage companies, I've been fortunate to also work on some early stage projects, early on the water power side, but there's a lot of similarities. And, just a few things that we keep in mind when we're working on projects, say for early stage companies, early stage projects, when someone has an idea. The first thing is we really make sure we understand the vision. We make sure we understand the culture that's coming to us, asking us for support. Because everything is different, like the individuals that were up here talking about their ideas, these are different ideas. They have, a different background. They have different ways, approaches of looking at their challenges. And when they come to us to ask for support, we need to, number one, make sure we understand that. That vision and that culture is real important to be able to provide our services within and be consistent. And another part of that is just understanding sort of the sandbox that we're playing in, understanding that there are limitations usually on early stage. So making sure that you're nimble in your thinking, making sure you're efficient in your execution. Another thing is to remember to be flexible. As we all know, you get going down a path, there is likely going to be times when things happen that you didn't expect. How do you respond to that? And when you're providing engineering services or permitting or siting, you need to be ready and, think creatively, not be afraid to think creatively. And lastly, another service that we sort of provide with the newer upstart type companies is making sure that we can be a conduit to other expertise. We may not have, but we may know that other people or other individuals or companies have that can help these, early stage businesses. So on one hand, we're a large company, but we like to work, connected to our clients, and that doesn't, change, especially with upstart companies. A little different world, but like I said, I just went through 3 or 4 points that really, you need to focus on when we provide our services. So, thank you.
And that was really cool to hear about the Emerge program, and you guys are so in touch with not only the RU and our amazing grad students, but also with startups yourself. These are the companies that are going to make the difference in the future. So the more support and connections and support we can give them, the better. I want to open it up to questions. Anybody online, we have the volume off just because it's hard to manage in this room. So if you can put any questions you have into the chat, Elizabeth will share them with us. Any questions in the room for our startups are all still around? Nathan and Mike are still around. So what questions do we have for anybody here? Yes.
From the back of the room, Amy Piscopo, new member of Tech Incubator. For WSP visitors, curious to hear how your visualization, farm, and water and power are working together. Any overlap there in the
Think that when you say digital, is that essence?
I think Nathan had mentioned visualization.
I mentioned that
WSP.
that we're onboarding, hoping to onboard some students from here onto our digital solutions team. So, it's interesting. And I can't answer your question specifically, but I can say that, in the where the company is headed, and any company, probably anyone is headed, digital solutions are, fundamental and they are evolving very quickly. We have a team of people we call the Digital Solutions Team. They're an internal service to the business. They have an inventory of special request projects that they're working on through, all different kinds of programs and technologies. And that backlog that team has is larger than what they're actually delivering right now. So there's just this tremendous need for digital solutions to streamline our internal delivery processes, make things more efficient, but also to provide, new, more innovative, cost-effective solutions for our clients. Not so much in power and energy, but we have, and one of the cohorts today spoke about something that resonated with me, a number of AI-driven and climate solution technologies that we own that are all around climate resiliency. So how can you take a large climate model and discretize it down so you'll be able to tell your client who has a portfolio of 300 or 400 buildings across Canada, what are the microclimate influences that will allow you to stack up your assets and determine which ones you really need to fortify today because you're going to lose them tomorrow. So all that is just information and data being synthesized and put to use to solve all these new challenges that we're dealing with today, mostly around climate change, resiliency, sustainability, energy transition, decarbonization.
One of you mentioned helping with permitting challenges, and I think that in the renewable space and in sustainable solutions, permitting has been one of the biggest challenges for companies to get through and to get solutions implemented quickly. Are there programs or are there forums out there that are looking at these old permitting conventions and saying, here's how we can modernize those rather than a wholesale deregulation?
Yeah, there's different, I'd say, groups of people looking at that at different levels. I mean, quite frankly, you have trade associations that are working with their members, whether it's wind or hydro or solar. And that's a lot of what they're doing is you typically have a group of people like a subcommittee focused on the regulatory structure for that market. And is there a way to streamline? Is there a way to be able to affect change without having to, open up the whole, the NEPA, National Environmental Protection Act box? But are there ways to work with regulators to say, you're still having the authority that you have, you're not giving that up, but here's a pathway, here's a roadway where we can maybe be a little more efficient and going through some of the processes. For example, in a way to try to reduce potential redundancy in a process, instead of having maybe 3 different environmental assessments, maybe there's one that the 3 agencies or 4 agencies weigh in on. You come to an agreement ahead of time on the structure of that document and what information needs to be put in, that goes in, as opposed to having to submit it 3 different times. Now, so people are looking at ways to be efficient that way. And, so that can be done either at the project level, or it can be done sort of at a higher level, like with the trade associations. But people are continually looking at that. And, at the project level, then it might be a matter of sitting down with the regulators that your project needs to go through the process. It needs to go through and say, how can we streamline this? How can we get through the system with the project that I have, the idea that I have? And in my whole career, I've never seen people not be looking at ways to, be more efficient with the.
Sure.
Also on permitting. Do you think in your experience, Maine would benefit from a streamlined permitting process similar to what New York has, or what it's where it's more of a one-stop shop, one round of appeals? Do you think any businesses and developers would benefit from a program like that here in Maine? Legislation like that here?
I think it would, depend. I don't know what specific types of projects you're talking about, but that if it, a lot of times it's, are the jurisdiction still being included and covered so that you can go through it. I think the other states have, have worked hard to do that with other states. And so, I do know, like, for example, if someone's doing their relicensing their hydro project, goes to one spot here in Maine. So, I do think in the state, people have looked at that and implemented some of that. But I think it really depends on sort of the industry, the type of project you're talking about, and there might be some areas where that's already exists, and other areas where there could be some changes discussed.
How often is this Emerge program run throughout the year?
We typically do one cohort a year.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you know when it opens up? I was on the website scrolling as you were talking and I didn't see anything, but I don't know if you have any sense as to like approximately when it opens usually.
We don't have an opening date yet, but there'll be another round in 25. I don't think it'll happen before the end of this year.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Question for Dustin at Novamera. Like your current fundraising round, you said $7 million.
5 million.
5 million you've raised of
About
7.
70% of it.
Can you share a little bit about the structure of that and who's on board and what you're looking for the 30%? What type of investor?
Yeah, so it's structured as a convertible note. It's basically a bridge to a Series A. So we're looking to do that by about the end of next year, close by the end of next year. So the investors right now are kind of a mix between mining investors and traditional venture capital investors as well. We're trying to kind of morph more towards the mining side as we kind of mature. So we're finding more receptivity from mining investors, especially folks in the project space. Our business model is also kind of turning that direction too. We're looking at joint venture type opportunities where we can combine with capital that will provide a full solution to companies that may have a deposit that is amenable to surgical mining, but they don't have the capital as well. And so we bring a full solution, and therefore we can structure deals where we can do like royalties and revenue shares to be able to maximize our value capture. So, ideally, we kind of keep with some venture capital that have bigger pockets, deeper pockets, but also bring on mining folks to get that sort of sector expertise, relationships, networking.
Any other questions in the room? Or online?
Well, put Dustin on the spot again, but I'm wondering about the clean of properties, and do you reduce water usage in terms of having less effect on watershed? And have you talked to any entities in Maine around lithium?
So yeah, if you think about every environmental issue that's associated with mining, we answer all of it, right? So from a GHG emissions perspective, we've done studies where about surgical mining versus a traditional underground mining, selective underground mining, we're about 50% less power consumption, 50% less GHG emissions. The system that we put in place is sort of the methodology is a closed loop system. So yeah, you're using a lot less water. So you're not discharging water as well until until the project's over. So that constant monitoring is not an issue. And you're using a lot less water. So think about areas in the world where you need a lot of water and mining is, in air. So there's that. You're not blasting. So you have a community aspect to it. You also have the fact that there's obviously emissions issues with blasting. So this is drilling. So you have a lot less dust, a lot less noise. So pretty much everything you can think of, it addresses that. Lithium here in Maine, mostly when we look at lithium projects, it's mostly pegmatite, hard rock type deposits, not brines. I'm not familiar, to be honest with you, sort of what's the landscape for lithium in Maine. There is a massive VMS deposit here it's called Pickett Mountain. Would be a perfect scenario for surgical mining. But I think I understand that they have some permitting issues with that. But yeah, we'd love to learn more about the landscape within where there could be some opportunities, because I think it's the less invasive way that you basically have it in your backyard.
Any other questions?
So my background is in the solar renewables industry, which is to a vast degree kind of technologically solved and well understood. But adjacent to that is the battery industry. So I'm always curious when there are smart engineer people in the room to take the pulse on different chemistries and technologies that you guys might see coming around the corner. Obviously lithium is the big one. You got big flow batteries that are starting to get built. And how you guys view that storage landscape as we look at utilizing natural resources in a way that people want them. So that's kind of an open question, but perhaps WSP has insights or feelings about that, or people.
Make a comment on that. The Form Energy is on the cusp of installing the world's largest iron air battery up in Lincoln at the former pulp and paper.
Paraphosphate?
What they call an iron air battery. It's not, I don't think it's an LF.
Okay.
No, it's an iron air battery. Form Energy.
The company near Form, Malta Energy, they make a energy storage system based off salt. Salt is the medium to absorb the energy and then provide that back to you like steam generation. So really cool energy there. Also in the aging oil and gas industry, there are a lot of aging oil and gas wells, some that have been abandoned. And the oil and gas industry is looking at repurposing those as energy storage systems as well. So there's some movement there to look at some complement to traditional battery.
Yeah, sort of site redevelopment.
I'll be more later about that.
I love having a smart audience that can answer questions. Thank you, guys. Any other questions? We can also kind of wrap now and then go to more conversational question and answer in the room. And then anybody online as well can continue to send questions or follow up with me, Tara, or Elizabeth from E2 Tech, and we'll be happy to connect you to the right people to continue the conversation. So Elizabeth, do you want to come up and say she was doing our wonderful check-in and if you want to close us out, that would be awesome. And then we can chat in here or right outside the doors, because I know it's kind of crowded in here, and we'll for a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds good. And thank you, Tara, and thank you to all of the speakers, especially from Canada that came out today. We really appreciated it. And this was like a really interesting conversation. Those of you who have met me before may know me from the registration table. So I'm Elizabeth, and I'm the Programs and Operations Manager with E2 Tech, or the Environmental and Energy Technology Council of Maine. We're working to build basically a statewide network onto building towards clean energy and clean environmental technology. And we do that by partnering with organizations like the Root Institute and WSP and the Canadian Consulate, and other organizations that are here today or that we would like to work with. So if you're interested in ever supporting events with us or in becoming a member with us, please feel free to contact me or talk to me today before you leave. And thank you guys again for coming. And yeah, please stay, get more food, and have more conversations. And thank you. Great.